Name the type of epithelial tissue. Simple squamous. Name the type of epithelial tissue. Simple cuboidal. Name the type of epithelial tissue. Simple columnar. Name the type of epithelial tissue. Pseudostratified. Name the type of epithelial tissue. Stratified squamous. Name the type of epithelial tissue. Transitional. Describe the function of this tissue type. Allows passage of materials by diffusion and filtration. Describe the function of this tissue type. Secretion and absorption. Describe the function of this tissue type. Absorption and secretion of mucus, enzymes, and other substances. Line the digestive tract. Describe the function of this tissue type. Secretion of mucus. Ciliated variety lines the upper respiratory tract. Describe the function of this tissue type. Protects underlying tissues in areas subject to abrasion. X. Outer layer of skin, and inside of mouth and esophagus. Describe the function of this tissue type. Stretches, lines the ureters and the bladder. Name the type of connective tissue. Loose connective tissue, areolar. Name the type of connective tissue. Loose connective tissue, adipose. Name the type of connective tissue. Loose connective tissue, reticular. Name the type of connective tissue. Dense connective tissue, regular. Name the type of connective tissue. Dense connective tissue, irregular. Name the type of connective tissue. Dense connective tissue, elastic. Name the type of connective tissue. Hyaline cartilage. Name the type of connective tissue. Elastic cartilage. Name the type of connective tissue. Fibrocartilage. Name the type of connective tissue. Osseous tissue, bone. Name the type of connective tissue. Blood. Name the type of tissue. Nervous tissue. Name the type of muscle tissue. Skeletal muscle. Name the type of muscle tissue. Cardiac muscle. Name the type of muscle tissue. Smooth muscle. Which muscle tissue is multinucleate? Skeletal. Which muscle tissue has intercalated discs between cells? Cardiac. Which type of cartilage provides structure to your ear and other structures that need support with flexibility? Elastic. Which type of cartilage absorbs shock and is located between the vertebrae? Fibrocartilage. Which type of cartilage connects your ribs to your sternum? Hyaline. What type of epithelial tissue provides protection with many layers of flattened cells? Stratified squamous. What type of epithelial tissue lines the air sacs of lungs and the blood vessels? Simple squamous. What type of epithelial tissue is usually associated with absorption and secretion? Simple cuboidal and simple columnar. What is the most abundant tissue type in the body? Connective. What are the three cell shapes of epithelial tissue? Simple, cuboidal, columnar. What type of connective tissue makes up tendons and ligaments? Dense regular. What type of dense connective tissue contains a higher proportion of elastic fibers and lines the major arteries around the heart? Dense elastic. Name three things that differentiate skeletal muscle from smooth muscle. Skeletal muscle is striated, multinucleate, and voluntarily controlled. Smooth muscle has no striations, one nucleus per cell, and is involuntarily controlled. What type of tissue transports nutrients, wastes, and gases throughout the body? Blood. What do blood, bone, and fat have in common? They are all types of connective tissue. What type of tissue transmits electrical signals from sensory receptors to effectors? Nervous tissue. What type of connective tissue provides insulation for the body? Loose connective, adipose. What are the three types of fibers found in extracellular matrix? Collagen, elastic, reticular. Which type of fiber is the strongest and most abundant? Collagen. Which type of gland secretes hormones directly into the blood? Endocrine. Which type of gland secretes mucus into the intestines? Exocrine. Which type of gland is ductless? Endocrine. What category of tissue forms membranes? Epithelial. What type of connective tissue is found underneath all epithelial tissue in the body? Loose connective, areolar. Epithelial tissue is called blank because it does not contain blood vessels. Avascular. What type of cartilage forms much of the fetal skeleton and has a glassy appearance? Hyaline. What type of connective tissue provides the framework for organs such as the spleen and lymph nodes? Reticular. What is the main difference between dense regular and dense irregular connective tissue? In dense regular, collagen fibers are arranged in parallel sheets. In dense irregular, collagen fibers are arranged randomly. Which type of muscle tissue has intercalated discs? Cardiac. Which type of muscle tissue lacks striations? Smooth. Which cells are flattened and scale-like? Squamous. Blood falls into what category of tissue types? Connective tissue. Which category of tissue usually contains a large amount of matrix? Connective. What two components make up extracellular matrix? Fibers and ground substance. Which cell types are found in areolar connective tissue? Fibroblasts, macrophages, white blood cells, mast cells. In what type of tissue would you find chondroblasts and chondrocytes? Cartilage. Which fiber gives connective tissue its tensile strength? Collagen. A group of similar cells working together to perform a specific function is called what? Tissue. This type of epithelial tissue appears to have multiple layers, but all cells are in contact with the basement membrane. Pseudostratified. What type of epithelial tissue is best at providing protection from abrasion? Stratified squamous. The study of tissues. Histology. Osseous tissue. Bone. The most common type of muscle tissue. Skeletal. Type of cartilage that makes up the discs in the spine. Fibrocartilage. Stratified squamous keratinized epithelium. Skin. Name the type of membrane. Cutaneous membrane. Name the type of membrane. Mucous membrane. Name the type of membrane. Serous membrane. Which type of cartilage provides structure to your ear and other structures that need support with flexibility? Elastic. Which type of cartilage absorbs shock and is located between the vertebrae? Fibrocartilage. Which type of cartilage connects your ribs to your sternum? Hyaline. What do blood, bone, and fat have in common? They are all types of connective tissue. What type of tissue transmits electrical signals from sensory receptors to effectors? Nervous tissue. What type of connective tissue provides insulation for the body? Loose connective, adipose. What is a mucus-producing unicellular gland called? A goblet cell. What type of membrane covers the surface of the body? Cutaneous. What type of membrane lines closed ventral body cavities? Mucus. What type of membrane lines body cavities that are not open to the external environment? Serous. Which membrane consists of keratinized stratified squamous epithelium? Cutaneous. What type of cartilage forms much of the fetal skeleton, and has a glassy appearance? Hyaline. Diffusion of water across a membrane through the lipid bilayer. Osmosis. Having greater concentration of solute inside than the solution outside. Cell shrinks. Hypertonic. Having a lower concentration of solute inside than the solution outside. Cell expands. Hypotonic. Having an equal solute concentration inside and outside the cell. Ideal conditions. Cell remains normal. Isotonic. Storage vesicle for water, food, wastes, other substances. One large vacuole in plants, many small vacuoles in animals. Vacuole. Controls all cell activities and protein production. Contains the DNA and nucleolus. Nucleus. Cell liquid in which chemical reactions occur. Holds and cushions the organelles. Cytoplasm/cytosol. Converts glucose into ATP in the process of cellular respiration. Mitochondria. A double-layered lipid membrane that surrounds the cell. Regulates what enters and leaves the cell. Cell/plasma/lipid membrane. Rigid external layer of a plant cell, bacteria, or fungi that is outside the cell membrane. Cell wall. Converts light energy into glucose in the process of photosynthesis. Contains chlorophyll giving plants their green color. Chloroplast. Passageways where compounds are manufactured, processed, and transported. Endoplasmic reticulum. Collects, modifies, and packages proteins and lipids made by the ER. Golgi apparatus/body/complex. Unicellular. Lacks a nucleus and membrane-bound organelles. Has ribosomes. Prokaryote. Unicellular or multicellular. Contains a nucleus and membrane-bound organelles. Has ribosomes. Eukaryote. The movement of particles from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. Diffusion. A state of balance in which there is little or no total change. Equilibrium/homeostasis. Contains digestive enzymes to break down food and wastes. Involved in apoptosis. Lysosome. Synthesizes ribosomes. Found in the nucleus. Nucleolus. Small package of nutrients, proteins, wastes, or water created by the Golgi. Vesicle. The basic unit of all living things. The smallest unit of life. Cell. A complete living thing. Organism. Synthesizes proteins. Mostly found on the rough but can also be in the cytoplasm. Ribosome. A collection of similar cells that perform a specific job. Tissue. Made of a single cell. Unicellular. Basic microscope that uses light and mirrors to magnify small objects. Light microscope. Cells that do only one special job. Specialization. Cell splitting into two new cells. Cell division. Made of more than one cell. Multicellular. Surrounds the nucleolus and DNA. Controls what enters and leaves the nucleus. Nuclear membrane/envelope. Programs cell death/suicide when a cell can't repaired, has died, or may cause problems like cancer. Apoptosis. Synthesizes lipids for use in the cell membrane and other parts of the cell. Smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Contains most of the cell's ribosomes which synthesize proteins. Rough endoplasmic reticulum. To make. Synthesize. Little organs that make up the cell working together for the survival and function of the cell. Organelle. Uses accelerated electrons to illuminate very small objects. Electron microscope. Inventor of the first microscopes. 1600s. Anton von Leeuwenhoek. Gave cells their name. 1600s. Robert Hooke. 1. All living organisms are composed of one or more cells. 2. The cell is the basic unit of structure and organization in organisms. 3. Cells arise from pre-existing cells. Cell theory. Small hairs on a cell surface that wave back and forth allowing the cell to move. Cilia. A whip-like structure on a cell that whips back and forth allowing the cell to move. Flagella. False foot. An extension of the cell to pull the cell forward or pull an object to the cell. Pseudopod. Movement of particles from low to high concentration across the membrane that requires energy. Active transport. Movement of particles from high to low concentration across the membrane. Passive transport. Passive transport through the membrane with the use of protein channels. Some channels are specific while others are not. Facilitated diffusion. Helps align chromosomes during cell division. Centriole. Small, thin proteins that help support and give structure to a cell. A cell cytoskeleton. Microtubules/microfilaments. Prefix meaning cell. Cyto. Cell membrane composed of phospholipids, proteins, cholesterol, and aquaporins. Phospholipid membrane. A small opening to allow materials to pass in and out of an area. Pore. Allows materials to pass through. Porous. No energy needed to allow material passage. Passive. Protein channels in the cell membrane that allow for quick water passage. Aquaporin. Control. Regulate. Attracted to water. Hydrophilic. Repelled by water. Hydrophobic. Many small vacuole cell membrane-only centrioles lysosomes. Animal cell. Makes up the cell membrane. Composed of a phosphate head and two fatty acid tails. Phospholipid. Allows some materials to pass through. Semi-permeable. The ability to decide which particles enter and leave a cell. Selective permeability. Outside. External/exo. Inside. Internal/endo. Stiff sterile lipid in the cell membrane that provides strength and rigidity. Cholesterol. The amount of dissolved solute in a solvent. Usually expressed as a %. Concentration. Solute plus solvent. Solution. Particles dissolved in a liquid. Solute. A liquid particles are dissolved in. Solvent. How well a substance can pass through something. Permeability. Cell bursting. Cytolysis. Cell shrinking. Plasmolysis. Taking things in from the surrounding environment by creating a vesicle. Endocytosis. getting rid of wastes into the surrounding environment by expelling a vesicle. Exocytosis. Taking in water from the environment via endocytosis. Cell drinking. Pinocytosis. Taking in food from the environment via endocytosis. Cell eating. Phagocytosis. The solution outside a cell. Osmotic solution. Above, over, a lot. Hyper. Under, low, a few, a little. Hypo. Even, equal. ESO. Smallest chemical units of matter. Atom. Two or more atoms held together by chemical bonds. Molecule. A molecule that contains atoms of more than one element. Compound. Matter composed of a single type of atom. Element. Reactions that make macromolecules. Dehydration synthesis. Reactions that break macromolecules. Hydrolysis. Usually lack carbon. Examples equal water, oxygen molecules, metal ions, acids, bases, salts. Inorganic. All are carbon-based compounds. Contain hydrogen and carbon atoms * larger and much more complex than inorganic molecules. Organic. Does not dissolve in water. Hydrophobic. Readily dissolves in water. Hydrophilic. Electrons, neutrons, and protons. Parts of an atom. Cons: carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur. What are the elements commonly found in living organisms? What are the unique properties of water? Dehydration synthesis is when two small molecules are joined together by a covalent bond and a water molecule is formed. Hydrolysis is the opposite of. A covalent bond in a large molecule is broken, then the components of water are added to the products. What is the difference between dehydration synthesis and hydrolysis? Organic compounds that are used by all organisms. What is a macromolecule? Carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, nucleic acids. What are the four macromolecules? Monosaccharides. Carbs. What is the subunit? Glycosidic bonds. Carbs. What type of bond holds its subunits together? Give you energy and give structure. Carbs. What do they do? Carbon. hydrogen, oxygen. Carbs, what elements make it up? Amino acids. Proteins, what is the subunit? Peptide bonds. Proteins, what type of bond holds it together? Enzymes, speed up chemical reactions, provide structure, membrane, transport receptors, chemical messengers. Proteins, what do they do? Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur. Proteins, what elements make it up? Fatty acid polymers, steroids. Lipids, what is the subunit? Ester bonds. Lipids, what type of bond holds it together? Energy reserves help make up cell membranes, messenger molecules. Lipids, what do they do? Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. Lipids, what elements make it up? Nucleotides. Nucleic acids, what is the subunit? Phosphodiester bonds. Nucleic acids, what type of bond holds it together? Nucleic acid polymers have genetic info. Some nucleotides used as a form of ATP, some nucleotides used as electron carriers. Nucleic acids, what does it do? Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus. Nucleic acids, what elements make it up? They create a phospholipid bilayers that act as barriers because of their unsaturated hydrophobic tails and hydrophilic heads, which prevent phospholipid molecules from packing together and forming a solid. Why do phospholipids form membranes? Primary structure, secondary structure, tertiary structure, quaternary structure. What are the 4 levels of protein structure? A polypeptide, greater than chain of amino acids covalently linked by peptide bonds, determines all higher levels of structure. Protein's primary structure. Polypeptide chain is folded and twisted alpha helix and beta pleated sheets. Protein's secondary structure. Folds and twists are folded on themselves. Protein's tertiary structure. By the bonds between R groups, hydrogen bonds, ionic bonds, covalent bonds, disulfide bonds. Proteins, how is tertiary shape stabilized? 2 or more polypeptides linked together. Protein's quaternary structure. By bonds between R groups, hydrogen bonds, ionic bonds, covalent bonds, disulfide bonds. Proteins, how is quaternary shape stabilized? RNA, single-strand DNA, double-strand helix. Missing an oxygen and OH bond. Compare and contrast DNA and RNA. DNA is missing an OH bond. How can you distinguish between RNA and DNA? They contain genetic information. What are the general functions of nucleic acids? Simple sugars, made of one sugar molecule. Monosaccharide. Ribose, glucose, fructose. Monosaccharide examples. Two monosaccharides linked by a covalent bond. Disaccharide. Sucrose, maltose, lactose. Disaccharide examples. Many monosaccharides covalently linked by glycosidic bonds. Polysaccharide. Glycogen, starch, cellulose. Polysaccharide examples. Multiple fatty acids covalently attached to the same compound. Fatty acid polymers. 3 fatty acids attached covalently to glycerol. Triglycerides. Unsaturated, greater than liquid at room temp. Oil. Saturated, greater than solid at room temp. Fat. 2 fatty acids and 1 phosphate covalently attached to glycerol. Phospholipids. Hydrophobic at one end, hydrophilic at other. Amphipathic. Abdominal region. Point of shoulder. Acromial region. Antebrachial region. Antecubital region. Armpits. Axillary region. Arm. Brachial region. Cheek area. Buccal region. Wrist. Carpal region. Neck region. Cervical region. Hip. Coxal region. Leg. Crural. Heel. Calcaneal region. Head. Cephalic region.